Hello, my name is Christopher Leffoltz, and this is the GitLab Development Group Conversation pre-video. The group conversation is scheduled for June 10th, which is tomorrow. I just want to give you a quick overview of some notes associated with it. There are several links within both the slide deck as well as links to both the key meeting and also the videos for the key meeting, the pre-video as well as the meeting itself. As always, when we start with development, I talk about what's been top of mind for myself and the organization. In particular, the first three things, narrow MR rate, retention, and hiring has been top of mind for obviously several quarters, if not for the time I've been at GitLab. Well, that continues to be a focus for us, and we keep moving there. We've moved to Ally for our OKRs, so that's been a focus for us during this quarter. I've started with moving both myself and directors, and also optionally some EMs to move to that. Anybody that had flow through OKRs from top level requirements was required to do it, but then we left it optionally for some EMs as we started using Ally literally at the beginning of the quarter, and it felt like transitions should be optional depending on which department EMs were in. So I left it to directors to make that determination. I'm happy to report that we've removed NFS support from GitLab.com. This has been an effort between development and infrastructure. It was a pretty long effort. It took several months, if not a year and a half, to basically get this support out, infrastructure support out of the product. So we finally were able to turn it off for GitLab.com, and we'll be working towards this removal of this support as product moves off of NFS. As part of the operational challenges, we moved to a daily stand-up, and now we backed off to a tri-weekly stand-up around GitLab.com. Operational challenges. In particular, development's been involved in several of these. The ones that have kind of been top of mind for me is reducing pipeline of use, which included putting a new service in place. We also were looking at our DB performance across a bunch of vectors. In particular, we did a general scan of all our queries and basically did some general optimization across a broad range of queries. And then namespaces also was a specific one that we had an initiative around to basically reduce DB load. We've also added a credit card requirement for free and trial users to help verify our free and trial customers. And last but not least, we were focused on primary key overflow so that we didn't run out of primary keys due to the 32-bit primary key. We've moved to 64-bit keys. As part of stand-ups and realizing the operational challenges, we wanted to put a process in place to be more proactive on long-range initiatives. And we've done that through the engineering allocation, which you can see 5 initiatives, and there's a 6th one being proposed as an engineering allocation. Also in development, we've kicked back up working on InfraDev issues because of the operational challenges as well as some focus there. So we've started meeting on a weekly cadence to basically review both the board and also several of those initiatives. And then normal changes within the organization and challenges normal changes in the organization as well as normal operations requires us to get feedback from everybody and kind of work on culture amp action items. In particular, working on training and making sure that engineers are seeing the right level of training that they need associated with efforts. And then last but not least, we formed a sharing group within enablement to basically support these initiatives that we have there. As I mentioned in the past, we're starting to see the organization start to grow. It hasn't necessarily resulted in our numbers going up officially yet, though what we have seen is that we've been able to keep up with attrition, and we have been able to keep the number of external hire positions pretty consistent up to this point. One key aspect is that we were down a recruiter during this last quarter, so this is an encouraging sign that we've got a recruiter who just started this week, and we're looking to start seeing this number go up as we start growing the organization more earnestly. Other KPIs I'd like to highlight, one is our maintainers. We keep our ratios below the 6-to-1, which we have been able to successfully do. So our next step is to focus on how many maintainers per MR we're seeing. This is a fractional number. Basically, the way to think of it is if you're at 0.05, that's 20 MRs per maintainer on average. So currently we're below that line and we want to get above that line. So we'll continue to focus on adding maintainers, particularly as the group grows. That'll become more important as our throughput increases. MR rate is a key aspect to all our efforts, and as always, development focuses on this pretty consistently. We have seen very consistent results between year over year between the 2 years. It's also seen improvements relative to our 2019 rates. In particular, what I'm happy to show is that we've seen an uptick in folks taking PTO. This is primarily due to pandemic restrictions being lifted and people being able to travel a little bit more regularly, both locally as well as through air. And what we're seeing is because of that increase, we're a little bit lower than say March, but if you take into account that March was a 22 workday month and we only had 19 days in May, it actually works out to be pretty close to about the same level of efficiency. So that's an encouraging aspect to our MR rate. Previously, we had review time to merge as well as MR age, and we were reviewing these on a monthly basis. What we've actually done is we've gone to a daily live basis on just the open MRs, both in age as well as review efficiency. So the top graph shows you our review efficiency, which is how quickly we can review. In particular, in early April, we adjusted to a new review process where we're actually using the reviewers feature. So we had to actually change our accounting method associated with that. And we're seeing pretty consistent results there with the review efficiency. These are the median ages. Essentially, if you look at the 95th percentile in these areas, what you'll see is that it's going to lead to a large skew, which is why we're using median as opposed to average for our results. Similarly, MRH, we have some work to do there, and we'll continue to focus on that as our numbers have increased recently. LCP has had a couple of regressions, I should say, not a few, a couple of regressions in the past couple months, and we're gonna, because of that, we put in some better alerting to basically notify us and catch it more quickly associated with it, but our numbers are still resulting in us being lower than that. As I mentioned earlier, for our OKRs, we have been largely focused on operational load and things going on at GitLab.com. So consequently, our OKRs, while still showing pretty good results in the goal of hitting 60 or above, it's a little lower than the previous quarter. So as we get into the end of Q2, we'll focus on this and result in us kind of hopefully getting higher scores as we move into the end of Q2 and final scoring. Here's the example of the Ally move to Ally, and it's kind of the early results with Q2, and kind of showing those results associated with it. And if you want more detail, you can go click on the link and look at the detail below those to see what's going on there. As I mentioned earlier, we had a number of scalability, database scalability improvements, particularly around suboptimal queries and shifting DB load to primary, from primary to replicas, as well as some other initiatives there where we're basically working on things to even further improve our DB performance associated with it. And then last but not least, one last thing I'll highlight is the acquisition of Unreview, which is basically increasing our ML tooling opportunities associated with our platform. So this is an exciting initiative that we've kicked off through both single working groups as well as applied ML within the product itself. This one is going to be applied ML portion of it as opposed to the single engineering group. This is a great example of us getting ML learning in our product and basically bringing in talent to help us with that, since we need additional help from outside to grow our team, and also with specific engineering focus in that area. There's one additional slide, which I won't cover, but we can cover in the group conversation and in a private portion of it. And that is it for the review comments for the development group conversation pre-video call. Thank you.